She's just dumb. Always falling in love with some man just because he's good looking.
Well, dear, that's...
Because if a girl's spending all of her time worrying about the money she doesn't have, how is she going to have any time for being in love?
Hollywood's Golden Age. A time of glitzy premieres, illustrious movie palaces, and stars who seemed larger than life. From the 1920s to the 1950s, film studios reigned supreme, churning out classics at breakneck speed. Cameras rolled under blazing stage lights, capturing the magic that enthralled millions. But behind that magic lay a world of private quirks and superstitions. And for some actors, these idiosyncrasies took the form of bizarre, almost ritualistic habits before stepping onto the set. We'll explore 15 bizarre rituals Golden Age celebrities did before filming. Each segment highlights one star's practice, how it began, why it mattered, and the effect it had on their life and legend. Bette Davis, the incense and eyes routine. Few actresses defined old Hollywood's dramatic flair more than Bette Davis. Known for her piercing gaze, immortalized in the pop classic She's Got Bette Davis Eyes. Davis insisted on absolute focus when preparing for a role. Colleagues recounted how, before filming, she had a fascination with incense and a somewhat mystical approach to her famous eyes. Rumor has it that Davis, an avid reader of spiritual texts, adopted an incense-burning ritual early in her career to set her mindset before intense scenes. She'd close the door of her dressing room, light a cone or stick of jasmine incense, and let the fragrant smoke waft around her face. According to a makeup artist, she believed the smoke cleansed her aura, a phrase gleaned from Eastern philosophies she'd encountered.
I wonder if you can guess who I am.
Can you give me a hint?
I'm Baby Jane Hudson.
Whether or not that had real effect, Davis swore that it cleared her thoughts, helping her slip into character. Then came the truly odd part. Davis had a custom-designed eyewash basin she'd fill with chilled, lightly salted water. She'd dip her face, eyes wide open, into the basin for a few seconds. This unorthodox ocular dunk was rumored to reduce puffiness and sharpen her signature stare. Some speculated it was just a way to combat the harshness of stage lights, but Davis framed it as a borderline ceremonial practice. "Better to see you with," she'd jokingly say. The cast and crew occasionally mocked these habits. Imagine Bette Davis, hair pinned high, incense swirling about, submerging her eyes in a dish of icy salt water. But friends insisted she never missed a day on set without them. For Davis, the scent of incense and the bracing shock to her eyes were more than just superstition. They were her personal gateway into that fierce, uncompromising energy audiences adored. Marlene Dietrich, the meditation and mirror lights. Marlene Dietrich enthralled the world with her sultry voice and glamorous presence.
Tell me about your other home. You have one, or you had one once. I've hurt your feelings, I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, yes, I did, but I didn't mean to move my head like that. It was purely instinctive.
Ever the perfectionist, she was rumored to have a strict pre-filming ritual involving silent meditation and an elaborate vanity mirror routine. Legendary for controlling every aspect of her image, Dietrich embraced a near-religious discipline when stepping before the cameras. According to longtime costume designer Travis Banton, Dietrich would arrive an hour earlier than call time to sit alone in her trailer or dressing room with a single candle lit. She'd fold her hands and close her eyes, entering a meditative state. No one dared interrupt. The hush was broken only by soft classical music on a gramophone. Her favorites were German Lieder or Tchaikovsky's violin concertos, giving her a sense of introspection and internal alignment, as she once confided. She believed the calm stilled her nerves, so she could better harness that legendary on-screen magnetism. Next came the mirror routine. Dietrich famously insisted on particular lighting around her vanity. Warm bulbs, angled to create specific shadows that flattered her cheekbones. She would stand or sit there, chin tilted at precise angles, observing how each beam highlighted or concealed different aspects of her face. The rumor was that she'd talk quietly to her reflection in German phrases. Little pep talks about embodying the mystique audiences craved. Some scoffed that she was vain to the point of obsession. Others admired her artistry, seeing it as a painterly approach to lighting herself. For Dietrich, it was neither vanity nor frivolity. It was a quasi-spiritual practice, merging self-awareness and the craft of glamour. Stepping onto the set after these rituals, she seemed to glow from within. Cary Grant, the lucky cufflinks, and the posture drill. The epitome of suave, Cary Grant often wore the air of effortless sophistication. Yet behind that cool exterior was a man who meticulously rehearsed every aspect of his persona.
Well, that's the trouble. You're too old for me.
Can't you be serious?
Oh, you just said an honorable word.
What did I say?
Sis.
Palaces are for royalty. We're just common people with a...
Starting with a pair of lucky cufflinks and ending with a posture drill so regimented it bordered on bizarre. Legend has it that early in his career, when he was still Archibald Leach, he played a small role in a London stage production. After a particularly successful performance, a friend gifted him a stylish set of cufflinks engraved with his initials. From that day forward, he declared them his guarantee of success. Even after rising to Hollywood stardom, Grant insisted on wearing, or at least carrying these cufflinks, on every first day of shooting for a new film. Directors occasionally noted that if he misplaced them, a mild panic ensued. "I can't possibly start without them," he was rumored to exclaim. Another quirk was his posture routine. Known for his impeccable bearing, Grant apparently developed it through an odd daily ritual. Standing against a wall, a thick hardcover book balanced atop his head, and reciting lines or comedic patter to test how fluidly he could move without dropping the volume. He believed that the audience senses confidence through posture, so he never missed a day. This was no quick fix. He'd do it for 10 or 15 minutes, ensuring his spine stayed straight, his shoulders back, and his walk as graceful as a dancer's. Some close friends teased that it was an overblown catwalk training, but Cary Grant saw it as an essential recentering. "If I'm comfortable in my own skin, I can make an audience comfortable too." The results spoke for themselves. He remains the gold standard of debonair cool even decades later. Mae West, a private séance with herself. Mae West was famed for her sharp one-liners, hourglass figure, and unwavering self-confidence. Yet hidden behind her audacious public persona lay a fascination with the paranormal. Believing she channeled higher powers to craft her scandalous, yet comedic lines, West reportedly conducted a private séance with herself before filming began each day. The routine unfolded in her dressing room, lights dimmed, a single lamp glowing behind a beaded shade. She'd place a small crystal ball on a table and speak softly, sometimes to an unseen presence, sometimes reciting her own lines to sense the comedic vibrations, as she joked. Accounts differ on whether she truly believed in contacting spirits or if it was a playful mental exercise. But a longtime makeup artist insisted West was quite serious about these moments of solitary consultation, her eyes half closed, as if in a light trance. On certain shoots, West even invited her personal psychic. The studio heads generally rolled their eyes at such requests, but rarely refused a star who guaranteed box office gold. The psychic claimed to help West harness cosmic energy for comedic timing. Whether it worked or not, West's punchy quips and brazen sexuality enthralled audiences, so nobody was complaining about her methods. After the séance, West's final step was a flamboyant reading of each scene's dialogue in front of a vanity mirror. She'd recast lines on the spot, shaping them into the double entendres that made her famous. Studio censors often bit their nails, only for West to sweetly remind them she was simply following her higher guidance. Outlandish or not, Mae West's mysterious pre-film ritual epitomized her approach to life: fearless, provocative, and utterly unapologetic. Errol Flynn, the pirate's shot and boxing spar. Swashbuckling hero. Errol Flynn lived as large off-screen as on. Tales of his escapades abound, from wild parties to globe-trotting adventures. One consistent rumor about Flynn's pre-filming ritual involved a stiff drink, a pirate's shot, as he allegedly called it, and a brief boxing session to get his adrenaline pumping. According to Flynn's personal assistant, the actor would roll into the dressing area each morning, greet the crew with a rakish grin, then slip behind a partition where he kept a minibar. There, he poured a small glass of rum or whiskey, always a dark spirit, and downed it in one go. He half-jokingly claimed it steadied his sword arm and gave him that roguish confidence fans adored. Directly after, he'd throw on boxing gloves and spar lightly with either a stand-in or a friend for a few minutes, exchanging playful jabs and footwork. This routine dates back to his youth in Australia, where he picked up boxing as a hobby. Flynn believed the quick workout sharpened his reflexes and warmed up his body for fight choreography and athletic stunts, typical of his roles. Naturally, some directors worried the rum might hamper his performance. But Flynn insisted it was merely a taste, never enough to intoxicate, just a nostalgic gesture that reminded him of bold buccaneers, reinforcing the devil-may-care aura he brought to the screen. Co-stars teased him about being half pirate in real life, but no one could deny the synergy of these odd habits. After all, audiences swooned at the dash and vigor he exuded, sword in hand and grin across his face, as though he'd truly stepped off a pirate galleon straight into Hollywood's epic stage. Fred Astaire, the perfect shoe dance. Fred Astaire was the embodiment of elegance in motion, wowing audiences with seemingly effortless dance routines. Yet behind that breezy style lay painstaking preparation. Astaire's pre-filming ritual centered on his shoes. He was famously picky about them, and a private shoe dance performed before every major number. Astaire believed shoes could make or break a dance. He'd arrive at the studio with multiple pairs crafted by top cobblers, each slightly different in heel height, fit, and sole thickness. Instead of trusting a single pair, he engaged in what crew members called his shoe audition. He'd set them up in a row, slip on each pair, and do a short dance segment alone in a rehearsal room, the so-called perfect shoe dance. Observers said he'd try a minute or two of tapping, swiveling, sliding. He listened for nuances, how the taps echoed on the floor, how the shoe felt pivoting, whether the arch offered enough support. Once he found the right pair, he labeled them with a small chalk mark on the inside. Only then would he proceed to the main choreography with co-stars like Ginger Rogers. This ritual could take anywhere from 10 minutes to half an hour, occasionally exasperating the director waiting to start filming. But Astaire was adamant. No cameras rolled until he was totally confident in his footwear. He described it as aligning body and sound. Indeed, if a pair of shoes muffled the taps or chafed his feet, his dance lost that magical precision. And so, day after day, Fred Astaire performed his private audition with the right shoes, ensuring that once the camera rolled, he soared across the stage with that trademark grace, mesmerizing audiences for generations to come. Joan Crawford. The Purification and Ice Massage. Joan Crawford commanded attention with her sharp wit and fierce screen presence. Perhaps less known is her daily pre-filming purification ritual, involving an obsessive skincare routine, some would call it a borderline obsession, and a legendary ice massage to keep her face taut. Crawford was notoriously hygienic, ordering staff to thoroughly sanitize dressing rooms before her arrival. Rumor has it, she even traveled with her own set of light cleaning supplies, spritzing doorknobs and mirrors if she felt they weren't up to par. But the most unusual part came in how she treated her skin. Each morning, before putting on makeup, she'd vigorously scrub her face with a mixture of hot water, soap, and a pinch of baking soda, claiming it stripped away the day's illusions. Then, she wrapped cubes of ice in a washcloth and massaged her cheeks, forehead, and jawline until redness set in, hoping to reduce puffiness and close the pores. Some stylists recall her sternly insisting on absolute silence during this ice massage. She believed it was a moment of internal reflection, as if the cold shock woke her mind. Once finished, she'd calmly pat her face dry, slip into a plush robe, and only then allow the makeup artist to commence. While her co-stars teased her for these bizarre beauty exorcisms, Crawford remained steadfast. "I don't do it for vanity. I do it for discipline," she allegedly told one assistant. Whether real discipline or a sign of deeper anxieties, the result was a luminous, camera-ready complexion. Fans marveled at how she preserved her star quality across decades. Crawford's ice routine became emblematic of her iron will, refusing to let time or exhaustion dull the sharp edges of her enduring glamour. Marilyn Monroe, the fifth position. Warm-up. Marilyn Monroe is often remembered for her breathy voice, luminous smile, and late arrivals on set.
If you've nothing more to say, pray, scat.
How it happened, I was up there watering the plants. I promised the Kaufmans I would.
Less publicized is how she calmed her infamous stage fright, with a peculiar dance-based routine reminiscent of ballet's fifth position. In her quest for confidence, Monroe studied different movement techniques, eventually devising a quirky pre-filming exercise. According to choreographer Jack Cole, who coached Marilyn for some of her musical numbers, she'd slip into a corner or behind a stage curtain to practice alignment poses from ballet. She'd stand upright, feet turned out, heels touching, arms in a graceful arch overhead. Classic fifth position. She'd hold this posture, inhaling deeply, exhaling with a soft sigh. Cole believed it helped center her, while others teased that Monroe's version looked a bit wobbly. Still, she insisted on at least a minute or two in that position before she faced the cameras. The second component involved quiet vocal humming, a single note gently rising and falling, reminiscent of a lullaby. Monroe once told a friend, "It's my way of telling myself I'm safe." Given her well-documented anxiety, it's plausible this odd combination of ballet posture and humming became a self-soothing strategy. Directors attested that once she performed this private ritual, she emerged more relaxed, though still prone to forgetting lines, ironically. While co-stars sometimes found her fifth position routine trivial, Monroe's personal acting coach, Paula Strasberg, defended it as a method born of vulnerability. Indeed, beneath the bombshell exterior, Marilyn faced deep insecurities. If these gentle steps in a corner, arms curved like a ballerina, gave her a moment of peace and poise, then her ritual served its purpose, helping her craft performances that still captivate the world. Bela Lugosi, The Coffin Nap. When one thinks of Bela Lugosi, the legendary portrayal of Count Dracula springs to mind, complete with a thick Hungarian accent and mesmerizing stare. But Lugosi's pre-filming ritual was rumored to be as eerie as his screen persona. An afternoon nap in a prop coffin. At least, so the stories go. Colleagues on horror film sets whispered that Lugosi had grown so accustomed to playing undead characters, he embraced some of the lore for real. After lunchtime, he supposedly asked stagehands to place a coffin in a quiet storeroom or corner of the soundstage. Then, wearing a black cloak, he'd climb inside for a 15 to 20-minute doze. Schedulers learned to factor in Lugosi's coffin break to the day's production notes. Skeptics argued this was a publicity stunt orchestrated by studios keen to reinforce his gothic image. Others recalled that Lugosi insisted it relaxed his back, akin to lying on a firm surface. Plus, it helped him remain in character, harnessing the chilling vibe. The rumor soared across fan magazines, fueling legends that Lugosi believed himself Dracula. For his part, Lugosi neither confirmed nor outright denied it, coyly saying, "I like to rest in peace." Whether 100% factual or partly fable, the story stuck. Many who visited the set of White Zombie or later horror flicks claimed they caught glimpses of him stepping out of a coffin, cloak swirling behind him like a creature of the night. If it was partly showmanship, it worked. Fans continued to link him to that macabre tradition, painting Lugosi as the real-life extension of the iconic vampire he immortalized on screen. Judy Garland, The Whispers of Gratitude. Judy Garland brought an unmatched emotional depth to her roles, capturing the hearts of audiences everywhere. Yet she grappled with anxiety, stage fright, and the pressures MGM placed on her from a young age. According to her close friends, one coping method was her ritual of whispered gratitude before stepping onto set, a quieter counterpart to her sometimes stormy personal life. This practice likely developed during her teenage years at MGM, when the studio regimen was punishing, feeding her stimulants in the morning and sleeping pills at night. Overwhelmed, Garland needed a mental lifeline. So, moments before filming a crucial scene or musical number, she'd close her eyes, bow her head, and whisper a short list of things she was thankful for: her voice, her family, or certain supportive members, and the fans who admired her. The routine was so discreet that only those standing very close could discern it. Sometimes co-stars like Mickey Rooney would gently poke fun, but Garland insisted it kept her from feeling alone amid the chaos. She even told a friend that those few seconds reminded me of who I am, not just who I'm supposed to be for the camera. Throughout her tumultuous career, culminating in triumphant performances like A Star is Born, Garland seldom neglected this hush-hush habit. Directors learned to wait for her subtle nod, indicating she was done. If she missed it, occasionally the assistant director rushed her. She seemed more frazzled, prone to line flubs or bursts of tears. In a world that devoured child stars, perhaps those whispered words of gratitude were her anchor, a fleeting but vital affirmation before the Klieg lights swept her into showtime. Orson Welles, The Shakespearean Soliloquy Check. Orson Welles was a Renaissance man, writer, director, producer, actor. His genius shaped classics like Citizen Kane, but he also carried a theatrical background steeped in Shakespeare. This shaped a quirky pre-film ritual he called the soliloquy check. Crew members on RKO sets observed Welles slip away to a quiet corner before filming any complex scene.
I have money and property. If I don't look after the interests of the underprivileged, maybe somebody else will. Maybe somebody without any money or property.
Yes,
and that would
money
be too
and property.
bad.
Well, I happen to...
Often behind backdrops or on an empty soundstage. There, he'd recite lines from Shakespeare's Henry V or Macbeth, delivering them in a dramatic whisper or half-voice. According to an assistant director, the text changed depending on Welles's mood. If he needed to pump himself up, he might do the rousing "once more unto the breach" speech. If he was aiming for brooding intensity, Macbeth or Hamlet came into play. Welles believed that channeling the bard's language just prior to rolling cameras primed him mentally. "It's like warming up on the mightiest stage," he allegedly said. Even on films set far from Elizabethan drama, he insisted the emotional resonance of Shakespeare centered him, reminding him of the craft's highest standards. Occasionally, co-stars or extras overheard these impromptu recitations. Some found it pretentious, others inspiring. Joseph Cotton once joked that Welles would cast himself as every lead in Shakespeare if he could. But it's undeniable that Welles's theatrical ritual helped him harness that famed gravitas. Directing complicated shots, managing a large production budget, and simultaneously performing demanded enormous focus. His daily soliloquy check was a brief return to the raw essence of acting, the language, the voice, and the intangible spark that made Orson Welles a formidable presence both behind and in front of the camera. Greta Garbo, Silent Walks and The Veil. Enigmatic, iconic, Greta Garbo was famously private, often telling the press, "I want to be alone." This phrase extended to her on-set behavior, manifested in a curious custom: silent walks around the studio lot, followed by a brief hush under a light veil before filming. Observers noted that Garbo arrived on set in the early morning, greeting no one but her immediate assistant. She'd slip into comfortable shoes, wrap a coat around herself, and begin a slow walk outside, if weather permitted. If not, she meandered corridors, carefully avoiding conversation. fellow employees quickly learned not to intrude. In these solitary strolls, Garbo reportedly cleared her head, focusing on the emotional terrain of that day's scenes. Then came the veil. Back in her dressing room, she'd drape a thin, translucent scarf over her face and sit motionless for several minutes, eyes closed. Some claimed it mimicked a meditative state, letting her mind slip fully into character. Others hypothesized the scarf preserved her makeup and kept her from interacting with anyone who might jar her mood. Decades later, an ex-costume assistant recalled, "Seeing Garbo under that veil, so still and ethereal, was downright haunting." Garbo rarely explained her reasons. She might have found everyday chatter draining, or she might have cultivated this aura of mystery to preserve focus. Regardless, these rituals added to her legend. The Swedish Sphinx re-emerged from the quiet, veil removed, eyes intense, and ready to deliver mesmerizing close-ups. For audiences enthralled by her otherworldly presence, such personal eccentricities only heightened the fascination, proving that behind Garbo's timeless allure was a fiercely guarded realm of solitude and silent preparation. Rita Hayworth, the hairbrush mantra. Rita Hayworth soared to stardom with her luminous red hair and sultry dance moves, an image meticulously sculpted by Hollywood. Less known is her private hairbrush mantra ritual, rumored to have started when she first dyed her hair from dark to auburn red. The transformation was as psychological as physical. According to hairstylists on set, Hayworth believed brushing her hair a specific number of strokes, usually around 50, helped maintain its sheen and color vibrancy. But it wasn't just about the brushing. She murmured short, repetitive affirmations like, "I am radiant, I am strong." She'd do this quietly, often behind her dressing room screen, a practice that crew members referred to as her secret incantation. At times, co-stars teased Hayworth for being vain, but a close confidant revealed she'd wrestled with deep insecurities, especially about her heritage. She was originally Margarita Carmen Cancino, and the pressure to alter her appearance. The brush mantra thus became a comforting habit, spelling out positivity in a world quick to judge. She believed the rhythmic strokes, paired with empowering words, soothed her nerves and readied her for intense filming days, whether for a dramatic scene or a sizzling dance number with Fred Astaire. Some stylists tried to talk her into skipping the ritual for time's sake, but she refused. Allegedly, if she missed it, she felt off balance, prone to flubs or moments of self-doubt. Despite an at times tumultuous personal life, on screen, Rita Hayworth exuded poise. Perhaps that mesmerizing hair flip in Gilda owed more to nightly brushstrokes and whispered mantras than fans ever realized, a subtle but steadfast demonstration of willpower in a studio system that often demanded reinvention at any cost. John Barrymore, the shape-shifting warm-up. The Barrymore dynasty was theatrical royalty, and John Barrymore stood out for his intense stage presence and film performances. Before the cameras rolled, Barrymore was said to indulge in a shape-shifting warm-up he'd perfected during his Shakespearean years, a set of exaggerated facial exercises and voice modulations that to onlookers appeared borderline comedic. A stagehand who observed him described a sequence of deep breathing, then wild contortions of the face, raising eyebrows, flaring nostrils, twisting lips. After that, Barrymore recited the alphabet in a booming tone, shifting pitch and accent with each letter. A, then B, then C, like a classroom teacher on a bizarre comedic spree. But for Barrymore, it was no joke. He believed loosening every facial muscle granted him the elasticity to convey emotions ranging from comedic mania to tragic despair. Once the facial routine wrapped, he'd pivot to lines from his biggest stage triumphs, particularly Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Who came to me as an office boy as Max Mandelbaum, and it was now Max Jacobs for some mysterious reason, and throw him into the street. You don't have to throw me.
He repeated snippets at various speeds, from slow, dramatic intonations to rapid-fire bursts, He wanted his voice agile enough to handle any script nuance or improvised flourish. Those who glimpsed him behind the scenes often stifled laughter at the over-the-top flamboyance. But once Barrymore emerged from this shape-shifting state, stepping onto set, the transformation was remarkable. Gone were the contorted expressions. In their place was a commanding star with mesmerizing facial control. Directors admitted it could be distracting if they overheard him in the next room, but there was no questioning his results. Indeed, Barrymore's method, as idiosyncratic as it seemed, helped him deliver some of the era's most memorable dramatic performances, solidifying his reputation as one of Hollywood's and Broadway's greatest talents. Ava Gardner, The Whiskey Tonic and Silent Stroll. Ava Gardner, renowned for her smoldering looks and unvarnished honesty, reveled in her free-spirited persona. Before the cameras rolled, she combined that spontaneity with a curious mix of whiskey tonic and a silent stroll that might last only a few minutes, but reportedly centered her entire performance. Friends say Gardner, often bristling at the rigid demands of MGM or her high-profile relationships, including Frank Sinatra, valued any moment of autonomy she could find. On set, that moment took the form of a small flask containing a pre-made whiskey tonic. The exact recipe remains uncertain. Some claim it was whiskey with a dash of lemon and honey. Others that it was whiskey diluted with seltzer. She'd sneak a short sip, just enough to quell nerves, according to her personal assistant. Then came a short walk around the stage or lot. In contrast to the boisterous persona fans saw in interviews, she made sure these walks were alone. No chatting, no entourage. One co-star said that stepping quietly, eyes down, Gardner would lengthen her spine, roll her shoulders, and mentally review lines or emotional beats for upcoming scenes. It's like she turned into a panther, smooth, predatory, quietly confident, he remarked. Once the stroll was done, she'd rejoin the director, apparently energized. Rumors abounded that the whiskey gave her an edge, while the calm pace steadied her.
My only reason for including you on this deal is a man's presence is required. There's gotta be a man.
This might have been a balancing act of both, a touch of liquid courage, and a mental escape from chaotic set life. Gardner joked that it was a grand old Southern tradition, possibly in homage to her North Carolina roots. Ultimately, the routine gave her just the dash of boldness and serenity she needed to shine, captivating audiences and critics alike for decades to come. From Bette Davis, dunking her iconic eyes in salted water, to Bela Lugosi napping in a coffin, these 15 bizarre rituals illustrate how the Golden Age was more than polished glamour. Beneath the studio gloss, these actors wrestled with stage fright, unrelenting schedules, and personal insecurities. In that crucible, they fashioned habits that might seem odd, or even eccentric to us. Yet each star, in their own way, found a path to harness their talent. Some rituals, like Marilyn Monroe's fifth position or Fred Astaire's shoe audition, were testaments to discipline and craft, bridging the gap between daily reality and cinematic magic. Others, such as Mae West's private séance or Marlene Dietrich's candlelit meditations, reflect a yearning for spiritual or metaphysical solace. And for stars like Joan Crawford, the obsession with cleanliness or appearance spoke to deeper anxieties about preserving an image in a world eager to devour them. We hope you've enjoyed this peek into Hollywood's hidden side. Thank you for joining us on this journey through 15 bizarre rituals Golden Age celebrities did before filming. Until next time, keep the magic alive, and remember, sometimes the quirky habits can spark the brightest brilliance.